Happy Friday, and I hope you had a great week. And as you plan for the weekend, I wanted to share a short video with you. Today is August 30th, 2024, and this is your end of the summer Friday planning video. This week I had a comment made by one of you that really hit home, and I want to admit to you, I know that this is the case most of the time. The comment was that these Friday videos are pretty much reviews of all the financial planning items that I already am doing for you. And that could not be more rewarding, but it's also telling. I want to keep these videos relevant. So while it is likely that many of the planning ideas that I talk about on these videos sound familiar, the reason for that is that we have a process. And that includes going over so many of these items, from estate planning to positioning of your assets to withstand market downturns, to long-term care and life insurance, to even cash management. These are all important parts of your financial plan. And with the team of your tax advisor, your legal advisor, and myself, I hope we're hitting on most of this. Now, I'll remind you, I don't give personal tax advice. I work with those advisors that you have as well. Today, I want to start out on what you have heard me call Tales from the Front Line. And those are just stories from meetings I've had in the past few weeks that bring up important things, some that I've discussed with you and some that I have not. Today, I want to start with a favorite, and that is the ever-present issue of cash management. Even today, I came across a client who's still sitting on cash at one of the brick and mortar banks at 0.01%. And I was happy to hear that there is a local bank that does offer high yield savings, even though they actually have a branch location. So you may want to check that out. I'll remind you that we're no longer talking about the difference between 0% and 0.75% where we were a couple of years ago. We're talking about the difference between 0 and 5% in most cases. Now, I will note that as the Fed changes their interest rate stance and starts lowering rates, this may change, but for now, 5% higher than what you're earning can make a difference. And one more from the front line, let's talk about the safety of that money at the banks. And this is all about the Venmo, PayPal, and the Zelle. Do you know that consumers last year lost $210 million in scams across all payment apps? You name it, that is what the fraudster was posing as. What I want to do is warn you. First, be vigilant. Please be careful. If in doubt, please use your voice and call them. Unless you're talking to an AI version of your friend or the vendor, you should be best talking to them. The other warning, we have all become very accustomed to the banks or the credit card companies returning the money you lost. This is not the same in many cases as it used to be. A recent report stated that some of the big banks, you know the names, I think it's safest for me to leave those names out, but they only reimburse 38% of the unauthorized charges. And that is just it. They get around it since you're actually authorizing the charge. You approve them, even if you were conned out of it. So please be careful. I've heard recently of a friend of mine whose father dealt with this type of thing. And aside from the feeling that you've had your safety and security taken, it's a lot of headaches to get cleared up. And finally, for today's short pre-long weekend video, speaking of getting conned out of money, financial literacy is one of the best weapons to combat this. I don't have any survey data for this, but in my anecdotal experiences, I think we have to watch out if you're young or you're old, in between also, but the young ones, especially if you've given them a smartphone, this is huge. I know that the 8th grade pledge was big in California recently. Now I saw something about not before 11, give them a smartphone. Still, if they have a smartphone, they can get a scam text or a call. And if they're using things like Apple Pay or something like this, watch out. Teach safety now. And the older ones, this is about taking things at face value. Parents and grandparents are still probably writing checks for most things. Yes, I do checks sometimes too. You can insert your old joke now. But please, again, clients had a client of mine had his check stolen from the mail, washed, and rewritten for much more than it was originally written for. What's the solution to this? I'm not exactly sure, but let me suggest two things. First, check your statements. Do you check your credit card and bank statements every month? Think about doing so. Finally, a recent Junior Achievement USA study said that of U.S. teens ages 13 to 17, 68% of them would eagerly enroll in a financial literacy course, and only 31% of them have access to them. As of now, 26 states require at least one financial literacy course in high school. Does your state? I am having meetings with families often about this, so please ask me about it if you're interested. All right, that's all for now. I wish you a great Labor Day weekend and hope this video and ones like it bring you some value. I will be bringing you a few special videos in the coming weeks. There's a lot going on in our world, so keep an eye out. Please come back on Tuesday for the Tuesday market update. Have a great weekend.